Stick with me while I share my story. And if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting the subscribe button and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Jeanette, born in Atlanta but raised in a Nigerian household where respect was demanded, food was abundant, and insults were served hotter than jollof rice. My parents loved me, at least I believed they did, but my siblings, they loved mocking me more than anything else. Growing up as the big one in the family felt like living under a spotlight I never asked for. Every gathering, every festival, every holiday meal turned into a stage where my weight became the entertainment. And my siblings, Chichi, Kamsi, and Emmanuel, were the comedians. I still remember the worst day of all. I was 14, round-faced, shy, always wearing hoodies even in summer because I didn't want anyone to see the body I prayed would magically shrink overnight. My mother had invited Pastor Bayo and his entire family for Sunday lunch. The table was full, fried plantain, spicy chicken, and the biggest pot of egusi soup I'd ever seen. I reached for a second piece of chicken. It was innocent. I was hungry. Everyone else had taken more than one, but of course nobody noticed that. Just my hand. Chichi whispered loudly, Jeanette, don't finish the food oh. Everyone laughed. But Emmanuel wasn't done. If she eats any more, this table will break. The whole table burst into laughter, even the pastor. My mother didn't correct them. She didn't defend me. She just shook her head and said, Jeanette, you need to learn self-control. A girl must look presentable. The words burned more than the pepper soup. I swallowed my humiliation with a tight smile and excused myself. I went to my room, locked the door, and cried into my pillow. Soft, muffled sobs so nobody would hear. Because even crying was a weakness I didn't want them to use against me. That day, something shifted inside me. Not anger, not revenge, just a sharp, quiet promise to myself. One day, they will regret this. But promises are like seeds. They need time, pain, and pressure before they grow. High school was worse. Kids in America weren't any kinder. Fat girl, hippo, big mama, they had many creative names. I walked the halls with my head down, collecting insults like badges I never asked for. But while everyone was laughing, I was learning. I devoured books like a starving person. Business, psychology, finance, digital marketing, anything that showed me how rich people became rich. My siblings never studied. They were too busy fitting in, chasing popularity, following the latest fashion trends. I wasn't popular, but I was observant. I watched people. I studied how the world worked. I noticed things others ignored. I realized that life rewarded discipline, not appearance. I realized that intelligence could build a life weight could never destroy. But still, no matter how much I read, their words lived rent-free in my head. When I turned 18, everything exploded. It was Christmas, a full house, music loud, children running, aunties gossiping about who got fat and who lost weight. I was wearing a dress that I thought looked nice, simple, blue, hugging my curves, but not too much. Chichi looked me up and down and said, Jesus, why is she shaped like this? You look like a drum. Everyone laughed. Except this time, my father joined in. That was the breaking point. Not the insult, not the laughter, but the betrayal. My father, who was supposed to protect me. My father, who told me to ignore them. My father, who said I was beautiful no matter what, now laughing at me in front of the whole family. I walked out, right into the cold December night. Barefoot, breath shaking, heart bleeding. I didn't come back until hours later, when everyone was asleep. And when I lay in my bed that night shivering, something inside me snapped, cleanly, like a rope that had been stretched for too long. I would leave this house. I would build a life no one could laugh at. I would make money so loud that their insults would fade. But most importantly, I would become someone who didn't need them. After high school, I got a small job at a grocery store. My siblings laughed. "You want to be a cashier forever? You'll get even fatter sitting in one place. You know customers will judge you, right?" I ignored them because while I scanned groceries and bagged vegetables, I was building something they couldn't see. A plan. I worked early mornings and late nights. I saved. I took online courses. I learned how to run online businesses, drop shipping, affiliate marketing, content creation, brand building. Everyone said the market was saturated, but I knew something they didn't. People didn't buy products, they bought stories. One day, during a lunch break, I started a TikTok page. Anonymous, no face, just my voice and words on the screen. I talked about self-worth. I talked about growing up overweight. I talked about African families masking insults as jokes. I talked about pain, healing, and confidence. My videos went viral. One video about how African parents insult you softly hit 4 million views. Another about growing up as the fat sister hit 3 million. My followers grew from 200 to 500K in 1 month. Brands started emailing me. People wanted more. They didn't know my face, but they knew my words. They didn't know my body, but they knew my strength. My siblings didn't know anything until the day a YouTube channel reposted my videos and used the caption, "Fat African girl motivates the world with her pain." I wasn't even offended. I just watched the views climb, the subscribers increase, the brand offers roll in. My pain was becoming my power. But the real turning points came the day I discovered something I never expected. People would pay big money for digital products. I created my first ebook, Healing from Family Shame, a guide for African children. I priced it at $25. It sold 1,200 copies in the first week. I cried, real tears, because for the first time in my life, I was winning. But that was just the beginning. Within 6 months, I made more than my parents and all my siblings combined. And the money changed everything. Not me, them. Because soon, the same siblings who laughed at me would start calling me every day. And I would let their calls ring, just like their laughter once echoed in my ears. But they hadn't seen anything yet, because success was just starting to taste sweet. And revenge was simmering quietly in the background, waiting for the perfect moment to be served. Success didn't change me overnight. It changed slowly, like sunrise creeping over a dark horizon. First, my bank account grew. Then my confidence grew. Then my silence became louder than my siblings' insults. By year 2, my TikTok had crossed 2 million followers. My YouTube channel was booming. My digital courses were selling out. My ebooks were everywhere. I even launched a skincare and wellness brand called Janet Glow. And the irony? The girl they mocked for being too fat became the face of a self-love empire. But the real glow-up wasn't even physical. It was emotional, mental, spiritual. I wasn't perfect, but I was finally becoming the version of myself I used to dream about. Reality hit my family the day I bought my first car. I pulled up in a shiny black Range Rover, engine humming like confidence itself. I wasn't showing off. I was simply driving to my own apartment. But African aunties talk faster than the wind, so within hours the entire family knew. Janet has money. And that was the day the phone calls started. First was my mother. Janet, my daughter, how are you? We haven't seen you in a while. Then my father, my dear, come home sometimes. You know family is important. Then Chichi, hey sister, long time. We should hang out. Then Emmanuel, Janet, I beg, I need small loan. I will pay back, promise. Then Kamsi, can you help me pay for my school project? I stared at my phone each time and felt nothing. No pain, no anger, no joy, just emptiness. Because when I needed kindness, they gave me insults. When I needed love, they gave me laughter. Now they needed money and I had plenty. I didn't reply. Not a single call, not a single text. Silence became my revenge. 2 months later, my mother invited me to a family dinner. It's been too long, my daughter, she said. I debated ignoring her, but a quiet voice inside me said, go. Not for them, but for the girl who cried alone in her room years ago. So I went. I walked in wearing a fitted orange dress that hugged my curves beautifully, soft makeup, confident posture, hair done professionally. Not skinny, not trying to be, just beautiful in my own body. The whole room went silent. Emmanuel dropped the spoon in his hand. Kamsi whispered, is that Janet? Chichi's mouth fell open. My father was the first to speak. Wow, Janet, you look different. Different? No, I was just finally seen through eyes not clouded by cruelty. They stared at me like they were seeing me for the first time, not as the fat sister, not as the joke of the family, but as a woman who walked with purpose and money behind her. They didn't know how to react. Then Emmanuel tried to force a smile. Aha, sister, you look nice, oh. Who is your trainer? Maybe you can help me too. I didn't laugh. People who hurt you don't deserve to make you laugh. I sat down at the table quietly, my confidence filling the room more than any insult ever did. The dinner began. My mother served me an extra portion, as if overfeeding me now would erase years of mockery. So, Janet, Chichi began carefully. I heard you're doing big things online. 2 million followers, Abby. Almost 3, I corrected. Their eyes widened. Kamsi leaned in. So, what exactly do you do? Like, what made you blow? For a moment, I thought of telling them everything. But then I remembered the girl they made cry into her pillow. I remembered the laughter. I remembered the shame they forced onto my body like a burden I didn't deserve. So I smiled politely and said, God blessed me. It was the truth. Maybe not in the way they thought, but still the truth. The room went awkwardly silent. My father cleared his throat. Janet, you know your siblings. I cut him off gently but firmly. Dad, please don't. He blinked, confused. Don't what? Don't pretend nothing happened. The table froze. I was calm, but my voice carried every scar. For years, you all made jokes about me, my weight, my body, my eating, everything. I was the family clown. My mother opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. You laughed at me when I reached for food. You mocked me in public. You insulted me in front of guests. You made me hate myself. Their eyes fell to their plates. Kamsi whispered, we didn't know it hurt you like that. Of course you didn't, I said, because you never cared to ask. A deep silence filled the room like smoke. I continued, still calm. But it's fine, truly, because you pushed me into becoming someone better, someone stronger, someone successful. Chichi tried to reach for my hand. Janet, we're sorry. The apology was soft, but it came too late. Years too late. I withdrew my hand. I forgive you, I said quietly, but I don't trust you. Not anymore. Their faces dropped, because forgiveness is a gift, but trust must be earned. My father swallowed hard. So what does that mean? It means I'm keeping my distance. Emmanuel sputtered, but we're family. Exactly, I said, and family should protect, not destroy. The room went dead silent again. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and adjusted my dress. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for the meal. Chichi jumped up. Janet, wait, please. We want you around more. We really miss you. I looked at her calmly. You miss the version of me you could control, the version you could laugh at. The new me, you miss what I can give you. Their eyes widened because the truth hit harder than any insult. I walked out of the house without looking back. As I stepped into my Range Rover, I realized something. That dinner wasn't about reconciliation. It was about reclaiming my power. And I had reclaimed it beautifully. But they weren't done, not even close, because soon desperation would make them bold, and boldness would bring the confrontation that would change everything. After that dinner, I expected space, distance, peace. But my family had tasted a version of me they never thought possible. Confident, successful, financially untouchable. And people always want more of what they once took for granted. The calls increased. The texts multiplied. But the most surprising part? They stopped pretending. At first, they acted like they wanted to reconnect. But when I kept my boundaries firm, their real intentions slipped through like cracks in a wall. One morning, I woke up to 22 missed calls, all from Emmanuel. Suspicious. I texted, "What's wrong?" He replied instantly. "I need 10K. My business is collapsing. Please help me. I beg you." No hi, no how are you. Just a demand wrapped as a plea. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, he called again and again. Finally, out of frustration, I answered. His voice was shaky. "Janet, please, I know we were not always good to you, but I'm your brother. You can't leave me like this." "I don't owe you anything," I said calmly. "But you have money. Why are you acting like this?" he shouted. I wasn't moved. "You laughed at me when I needed love," I said quietly. "Now you need help and you think you deserve it?" The phone went silent. Then he said the words that confirmed everything. "So you're still angry because of small jokes. If we didn't tease you, would you be rich today?" My chest tightened, not from pain, from clarity. "You're calling emotional abuse a joke?" I asked. He sighed loudly. "Janet, I beg, don't start. It wasn't that deep." I hung up. Not out of anger, out of finality. That sentence, "it wasn't that deep," told me everything I needed to know. They had not changed. They had not reflected. They had not learned. They only wanted what I had, and I refused to shrink myself anymore. 3 days later, Chichi messaged me a long paragraph. Too long, excessively long. I knew immediately she wanted something. She wrote, "Hi Janet, hope you're well. I've been thinking a lot about how I treated you, and I truly regret it. I want us to start over. I also need help to pay my rent. I'm being evicted. Please, even if it's just half." I stared at the message. She wrote 3 lines of apology, but 5 lines of request. Typical. I replied simply, "I hope things work out for you." No money, no promises, no guilt. I put my phone down, poured a cup of tea, and went back to reviewing orders for my business. My skincare brand was booming, especially after a major influencer featured my products on her page. We were running a Mother's Day promo, and orders were flying in faster than my team could pack them. My success no longer felt like escape. It felt like justice. But the peace didn't last long. My mother called a week later. "Janet, my daughter, please, we need to talk." I sighed. "Mom, I'm busy." "This is important," she whispered. "It's about your siblings." "Always about my siblings." "Mom, I've made my boundaries clear." Yes, I know," she said quickly. "But listen, they're going through a lot." I shook my head slowly. "And what does that have to do with me?" "Janet, you have money. What is the harm in helping?" There it was, the entitlement. "Mom," I said calmly, "they never helped me when I was struggling." She sighed loudly. "You're still holding on to the past?" "No, I'm holding on to my peace." There was silence on the line. Then she changed tactics. A softer voice, a pleading tone. "Please, Janet, at least come home. We need to talk as a family." I knew what family meeting meant. It meant pressure. It meant guilt. It meant manipulation served with rice and stew. But something inside me said, "Go, face them, not for them, for yourself." So I agreed. The family meeting was at my parents' house Saturday evening. The weather was humid, the air thick with unspoken tension. I wore simple clothes, a t-shirt, jeans, but the confidence I carried was worth more than gold. When I walked in, they all stared at me. The same hunters stare at a lion they want to tame. But I wasn't tameable anymore. My mother started, "Janet, thank you for coming." I nodded politely. Emmanuel looked exhausted. Chichi's eyes were swollen. Kamsi kept avoiding my gaze. My father cleared his throat. "Your siblings have been facing challenges." I stayed quietly. Emmanuel jumped in first. "Janet, I'm sorry if I ever hurt you, truly, but I'm drowning. My business failed. I owe money. I'm scared." Chichi followed. "My rent is overdue. I've been depressed. I know I said terrible things to you. I was stupid." Then Kamsi, "I dropped out of school. I don't know what to do." They all looked at me with hopeful, desperate, begging eyes. But none of them said, "We were wrong. We hurt you. We destroyed your confidence. We're sorry for who we used to be." Instead, all their apologies were tied to their needs. Money, support, help. Not healing, not accountability, not love. My father leaned forward. "Janet, help them." My mother nodded. "You're blessed, bless others." For a moment, I felt the old Janet, the eager to please, self-sacrificing, wounded girl, rise inside me. But then I remembered the tears, the humiliation, the shame, the years of being the punching bag. I took a slow breath and said, "I forgive all of you, but I will not fix messes I didn't create." Their faces fell instantly. Emmanuel raised his voice. "So you're leaving us to suffer?" I looked at him calmly. "Just like you left me to suffer for years?" He clenched his teeth but couldn't argue. My father tried again. "Janet, be reasonable." "No, Dad," I said softly. "Be accountable." My mother began to cry. "Are you really this cold?" I swallowed. "I'm not cold. I'm healed. There's a difference." Silence. Heavy. Thick. Uncomfortable. Then I stood. "You all expect me to save you now that I'm successful, but not once did you consider how your actions shaped me. I had to rebuild myself from the ashes of your insults, alone." They stared at me, shocked. I continued. Today, I choose myself, my peace, my boundaries, my future. Emmanuel whispered, So, that's it? You're cutting us off? I looked him straight in the eye. Yes. Gasps filled the room. But why? Chichi cried. Because I will no longer stay where I am only loved when I'm useful. My father shouted, This is not how African children behave. I turned to him. This is how healed children behave. I picked up my purse, walked to the door, opened it, then I said the final words that sealed everything. You all taught me I wasn't enough. Now you'll learn how it feels to not have me. And I walked out, leaving behind the broken pieces they created. But the real storm, it hadn't come yet. Because power always threatens those who once held control. And they were about to fight harder to drag me back. Cutting them off felt like walking out of a burning house. Scary, painful, but necessary for survival. For the first time in my life, I felt free. I focused on myself, my business, my peace, my joy. But when people lose access to the version of you they used to exploit, something dangerous happens. They fight harder to regain control. And my family? They became desperate. 3 weeks after the family meeting, I woke up to a flood of notifications. My name was trending. But not because of my brand. Not because of a new video. Not because of success. No. It was because my siblings had done something unthinkable. They publicly shamed me. On Facebook, on WhatsApp status, on Instagram stories, on TikTok lives. All of them at once. Chichi posted a long, dramatic caption with an old photo of me crying at age 16 during a family event. Money has turned my sister into a wicked person. She abandoned her family because she is rich. Please help me beg her to remember the people who raised her. She used a crying emoji, then added her Cash App username. Emmanuel made a TikTok live pretending to wipe tears. My sister is rich now. She drives a Range Rover, but her own blood is suffering. Is this what fame does to people? More fake tears, more comments rolling in, more sympathy from strangers who didn't know the truth. Kamsi added fuel too. Success has blinded her. She forgot us when we needed her. Can fame make someone heartless like this? And the worst part? They mentioned my business name, my videos, my page to get attention, to get money, to get pity. At first, I froze, my hands trembling, my chest tight, my heart pounding. Old trauma cracking open like it never healed. The humiliation, the mockery, the betrayal. It all came flooding back. But then, something else rose in me. Not fear, not sadness, not shame. Strength. The old Jeanette would have curled into a ball, crying quietly so no one would hear. The new Jeanette opened her phone calmly, took screenshots of everything, and called her lawyer. By noon, my lawyer, a sharp, soft-spoken black woman named Attorney Bishop, was already in my apartment reviewing the posts. She took one look at the screenshots and said, "This is defamation, harassment, public humiliation with intent to harm your brand and income. We can shut this down." I nodded slowly. I don't want revenge. I want freedom. She smiled. Exactly. And freedom starts with boundaries that have consequences. She drafted a cease and desist letter to each sibling and to my parents, who had also reshared some of the posts. Sharp, clear, legal, brutal. The letter listed defamation, public harassment, endangerment of business reputation, emotional abuse, public sharing of minor age photos, attempted extortion, cyber harassment, breach of privacy. It gave them 72 hours to delete every post, issue a public apology, never contact me again, stop using my name for sympathy or money, or face a lawsuit that would, quote, redefine their financial future. My siblings weren't expecting that. Not at all. The first to respond was Emmanuel. He called me 14 times in 10 minutes, then sent 27 voice notes. Jeanette, please, I didn't know it would get this serious. Is it not just social media? Why will you bring lawyer? Are you trying to ruin my life? You're wicked. Please don't do this. You want to destroy your own blood. Blood? I laughed bitterly. Where was blood when I cried myself to sleep at 14? Where was blood when they mocked me in front of guests? Where was blood when they humiliated me online 20 minutes ago? I blocked him. Next was Chichi. She sent a voice note crying, full dramatic sobbing. Jeanette, I swear I didn't think it would blow up like this. My landlord is threatening me. Please don't take me to court. Please. I blocked her too. Then Kamsi. He didn't cry. His message was cold. So you think you're too big now? You think you're better than us? Then another. You'll regret this. Then you're no longer my sister. I blocked him as well. I didn't reply to any of them. Not out of anger, out of closure. Because responding to people who refuse to grow is like watering dead plants. Exactly 24 hours later, they started deleting the posts. Exactly 48 hours later, they began panicking publicly. Exactly 72 hours later, something unexpected happened. They posted a video together. All three siblings sitting side by side, looking miserable and ashamed. Chichi spoke first. We want to apologize to our sister, Jeanette. Emmanuel continued. We hurt her deeply. Then Kamsi. And we crossed the line. All three together, we are sorry. The apology went viral, not because people cared, but because the internet loves drama. Suddenly, people were dragging them. You guys are evil. She doesn't owe you anything. You bullied her for years. You're only sorry because she fought back. For once in their lives, the world saw the truth. But the apology didn't move me. Words don't heal wounds you didn't create. Actions do. And their actions had always been rooted in entitlement. I didn't unblock them. I didn't call them. I didn't acknowledge them. Silence was the lesson they needed. But the real turning point came 2 weeks later, when I got a call from my mother. Not crying, not begging, not manipulating, but defeated. Her voice was small, trembling like a balloon losing air. Jeanette, please come home. No, I said quietly. I told you I'm done. She sucked in a shaky breath. They are fighting each other now, blaming each other. The house is full of chaos. We need peace. I closed my eyes. Years ago, I would have run home to fix everything, even if I broke myself in the process. Not now. Mom, I said gently, I am not your peacemaker. I'm the child you all wounded, and I am healing outside that house. She was silent for a long moment. Then she whispered, You've changed. I smiled sadly. No, Mom. I finally became who I always was. You just never saw her. When I ended the call, I didn't feel guilt. I felt clarity. They were falling apart because the person they used to dump their emotional garbage on, me, was gone. And they didn't know how to survive without someone to blame, someone to mock, someone to use. For the first time in my life, I felt powerful. Not because of money, not because of fame, but because I had finally broken the cycle. But the real healing? Healing didn't happen overnight. It didn't come wrapped in forgiveness. It didn't arrive with a smile. It didn't feel soft, warm, or gentle at first. It came with silence. A new kind of silence, one I had never known before. Not the silence of being ignored, not the silence of feeling unworthy, not the silence of swallowing pain to keep others comfortable. This was a peaceful silence. The kind that feels a home when the last storm cloud passes. The kind that wraps around you like a warm blanket. The kind that tells you, you're safe now. For the first time in my life, I wasn't bracing for the next insult, the next betrayal, the next emotional slap. My home became a sanctuary. My mornings became calm. My nights became restorative. I laughed more, slept deeper, worked smarter, loved myself harder. Every day, I became a little more of the woman I'd always wanted to be. And the more I healed, the more I realized something painful. My family never hated me. They hated the version of me that didn't benefit them. And now that I was gone, they were forced to sit with the reflection they had avoided for years. Their own actions, their own cruelty, their own emptiness. I didn't have to punish them. Life was doing it for me. 2 months after the drama, I flew to South Africa for a business conference. My brand had expanded beyond anything I imagined. Partnerships in Cape Town, a beauty campaign in Lagos, a wellness conference in Atlanta, a distribution deal in Nairobi. I was becoming the woman they swore I could never be. The girl they once laughed at, too fat to succeed, too emotional, too soft, too easy to mock, had evolved into a powerhouse. One afternoon, after giving a keynote speech about resilience and entrepreneurship, I sat quietly in my Johannesburg hotel room. I looked at the city lights sparkling below me like scattered diamonds. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had avoided. Do I really miss them? I searched within myself, not out of guilt, not out of longing, not out of obligation, just truth. And the answer was no. I missed the family I wished I had, but not the one I came from. The surprise at the airport. When I flew back to the US, something unexpected happened at the airport. As I walked towards baggage claim, someone called my name. Jeanette? I turned. It was Chichi. She looked different. Not glamorous, not loud, not confident. She looked tired. Eyes swollen, face sunken. A shadow of who she used to be. For a second, we just stared at each other. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Tears welled instantly. "Please," she whispered, voice cracking. "Can we talk?" I studied her. The same sister who mocked me. The same sister who posted my crying photo online. The same sister who used my pain to beg strangers for money. I expected anger to rise in me. Instead, I felt nothing. Just calm detachment. "I'm not interested," I said softly. She shook her head desperately. "Jeanette, please, please. Everything is falling apart. Emmanuel is in debt. Kamsi lost his job. Mom is sick. We need you." There it was. Not accountability, not remorse, not change. Need. Not love. Need. I stepped back, dragging my suitcase with me. "For once," I said quietly, "figure it out without me." Her shoulders collapsed. She sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands, sobbing like her world had ended. But I didn't go to her. I didn't hug her. I didn't comfort her. I didn't rescue her. That wasn't my role anymore. I walked away, feeling lighter than I had in years. The message that closed the door forever. A week later, an email arrived from my mother. Short,
Simple, honestly unexpected. Jeanette, I understand now. You didn't abandon us. You chose yourself, and you deserved to. I'm sorry for all the years we made you feel small. I read it twice, 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and smiled. It wasn't forgiveness I felt. It was acknowledgement, validation, and that was enough. I didn't need reconciliation. I didn't need closeness. I didn't need their approval. I had already built a world where I thrived, with friends who loved me, a team that respected me, a community that believed in me, a life that honored me. They no longer had access to my peace, to my success, to my heart, to my vulnerability. Not because I hated them, but because I finally loved myself.